The Withering Regime, The Devil of Shadows, by Ryder-the-Creator. Prologue. The piercing, malevolent voice sliced through the air like a sharpened blade, taunting and filled with pure hatred. Elizabeth's heart thumped painfully in her chest as she danced on the battlefield, dodging unrelenting attacks with a graceful desperation. The ground trembled beneath her feet, threatening to crumble and swallow her whole into the unforgiving void behind her. Suddenly, a gaunt, ghostly arm shot out from the shadows and grasped onto her ankle like a vice, dragging her down with unexpected strength. Fear seized her as she fought against the iron grip, but it held firm against her struggles. A twisted grin crept across the face of her attacker as they raised a glinting blade towards Elizabeth, ready to strike with deadly precision. "God, please save me," she whimpered helplessly as she braced for the inevitable impact that would shatter her body and soul. A vibrant sign bearing the words, "Congratulations graduates, Ryder Edwards and Elizabeth Lavender, class of 2019, stood proudly in front of the house. Colorful balloons and festive decorations adorned every corner, marking this momentous occasion. As Ryder looked around, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and excitement for what lay ahead. The yard was filled with a buzz of energy as family and friends mingled and celebrated. It was a day to remember, a day marking the end of one journey and the beginning of another. A wide, beaming smile spread across Ryder's face, a reflection of the confident and joyous future he felt awaited him. As a freshly graduated young man, Ryder was known to be one of the kindest souls one could have the fortune of encountering. He radiated warmth and compassion in every interaction. Whenever an issue sprouted, Ryder was always willing to pluck it out like a stubborn weed, never shying away from helping those in need. His loyalty knew no bounds, extending even to his partner of 3 years, Elizabeth. The thought of her brought a surge of excitement through Ryder's chest as she embraced him tightly at their graduation party. "I'm so proud of you, Ryder," Elizabeth squealed with genuine admiration as they hugged. Elizabeth embodied all the same qualities that made Ryder so beloved: kind-heartedness, empathy, and a strong sense of justice. Despite her occasional short temper, she always made sure everyone was set straight, whether they wanted to make changes or not. "Hey now, don't give me all the credit," Ryder teased playfully as Elizabeth showered him with praise. "You graduated too." A giggle escaped Elizabeth's lips as she gently nudged Ryder's shoulder in good humor. "I know that's silly. But you had some struggles along the way, and I'm just glad the school was kind enough to lend a helping hand," she replied as she leaned into Ryder's side with affection. "Yes, I am truly grateful for their generosity," Ryder chuckled softly as he wrapped his arm around Elizabeth's waist, pulling her close to him as they continued to celebrate their achievements together. Gradually, a parade of vehicles began to arrive and park in neat rows as the family members of Ryder and Elizabeth's family mingled together. The air was filled with the sound of laughter and chatter as loved ones eagerly greeted the couple, showering them with hugs and heartfelt congratulations for their determination and dedication that led to this joyous moment. The graduation party was filled with laughter, shared memories, and an overwhelming sense of pride for the accomplishments of both Ryder and Elizabeth. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a warm orange glow over the gathering, Ryder's father stood up with a glass raised high. The chatter softened into a hush as all eyes turned towards him. "To Ryder and Elizabeth, our brilliant graduates," he proclaimed, his voice filled with emotion. "May your futures be as bright as your spirits, and may your love continue to light the way through all the challenges that lie ahead." The heartfelt words were met with a round of cheers and applause, filling the evening air with a sense of unity and hope for the future. Elizabeth squeezed Ryder's hand, her eyes shining with unshed tears as she gazed at him with overwhelming love and gratitude for all they had achieved together. Ryder returned her gaze with equal affection, feeling a deep sense of contentment settle in his heart. As the night wore on, friends and family danced under twinkling lights, sharing stories and reminiscing about the past. Laughter and music filled the air, creating a warm and inviting atmosphere. Ryder and Elizabeth couldn't help but feel grateful for the love and support surrounding them, knowing that they had found not only each other but also a community that would be there to support them as they embarked on their next journey together. The evening came to a close, and as the last notes of the party's final song faded away, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over the tranquil waters of the lake. Elizabeth and Ryder sat side by side on the wooden dock, their hands entwined as they watched the last remnants of light dance upon the rippling surface. The world seemed to hush around them, cocooning them in a serene bubble of peace and contentment. "I can't believe we're finally here," Elizabeth whispered, her voice soft with awe. Ryder turned to her, his eyes reflecting the fading light. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? He replied, a smile playing on his lips. Elizabeth nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude for all they had overcome together. I wouldn't have wanted to walk this path with anyone else but you, she confessed, her gaze locked with his. A gentle breeze rustled through the trees, carrying with it the sweet scent of blooming flowers. The air was filled with the melodic chirping of birds and distant laughter from children playing in the nearby park. In the midst of their time together, a teasing voice echoed through the clearing from one of the members of their friend group. Hey, lovebirds. Got any room for your friends? Ryder and Elizabeth turned their heads to see their friends approaching, their footsteps crunching on fallen leaves and twigs. The teasing voice came from Michael, known to make clever quips and light-hearted jokes since his elementary school years. He was a master at easing tension or inciting laughter among their friend group, no matter how simple or complicated the situation may be. We can't let you two have the dock for yourself, now can we? The girl with orange hair, Gabriella, chimed in with a playful grin. Gabriella has been known to be the life of any party, bringing her infectious energy and warmth wherever she went. Her laughter was like a melody, lifting the spirits of those around her and filling the room with joy. She had a way of making everyone feel welcome and included, her genuine nature drawing others towards her like moths to a flame. Come on now, you two. Let them have their time together, a boy with glasses, Jonas, interjected with a smile. Jonas was the voice of reason in their group, always level-headed and quick to offer sage advice when needed. His intelligence and wit were unmatched, making him a valuable asset to their tight-knit circle of friends. You two really love to intrude, a boy with a turtleneck sweater, David, quipped with a mischievous glint in his eye. David was known for his sarcastic humor and quick wit, always ready with a clever remark or a playful tease. Despite his sometimes brash exterior, he is smart, yet accident-prone with a big heart in addition to seeing his friends as family, and would go to great lengths to help his friends in times of need. Ryder and Elizabeth chuckled at their friends' playful banter, grateful for the familiar presence surrounding them. As the group settled down on the dock, the evening breeze carried snippets of their shared laughter into the night, creating a symphony of joy and camaraderie. Sitting shoulder to shoulder with Elizabeth, Ryder felt a profound sense of peace wash over him. The events of the day had been a whirlwind of emotions, from the pride of graduating to the overwhelming love and support of their friends and family. Now, as he watched the stars twinkle into existence one by one in the darkening sky, he couldn't help but feel grateful for every twist and turn that had led him to this moment. You know, Michael began, breaking the comfortable silence that had settled over the group, I still remember when we first met in Mrs. Thompson's history class. Who knew that a shared eye roll over her pop quizzes would lead to this? His words were met with a chorus of laughter and nostalgic agreement from the group, each member recalling their first interactions with one another in that very classroom. It's funny how life works out sometimes, Gabriella mused, her gaze drifting across the lake as she reminisced. We were all so different back then, but somehow we found our way to each other. And what a journey it's been, Jonas added, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. High school feels like a lifetime ago. David nodded in agreement, though a mischievous glint remained in his eyes. Remember that time we almost got caught sneaking into the school after hours? I still can't believe we made it out of there without getting caught. Laughter erupted among the group as they delved into shared memories of their high school escapades, each tale sparking a wave of fond recollection and camaraderie. In the midst of their laughter and storytelling, Elizabeth leaned her head against Ryder's shoulder, her heart swelling with gratitude for the bond they shared and the memories they had created together. The evening stretched on, filled with the comforting presence of their friends and the soothing sounds of nature enveloping them in a blanket of tranquility. As the night deepened, they hear faint footsteps coming their way from the edge of the woods. The laughter and chatter of their group slowly faded as all heads turned in unison, curiosity piqued by the unexpected visitor. A figure emerged from the shadows, their silhouette barely visible in the dim light. Ryder. The voice whispered from the darkness, sending a shiver down Ryder's spine. Elizabeth tightened her grip on his hand, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and curiosity. The silence became suffocating until a high-pitched giggle cut through the tension like a knife, followed by a burst of laughter. The figure stepped into the light, revealing itself to be none other than Penelope, Elizabeth's older sister. Her mischievous grin was all too familiar to Ryder and Elizabeth, bringing a wave of relief over them. Penelope sauntered over to the group, her laughter infectious as she wrapped Elizabeth in a tight hug. Surprise! She exclaimed, her eyes twinkling with mischief. Elizabeth couldn't help but laugh, relief flooding through her at the sight of her sister unharmed. Ryder felt a weight lift off his shoulders, grateful that it was Penelope who had appeared out of the shadows. "What are you doing here, Penny?" Elizabeth asked, a mix of amusement and exasperation in her voice. Penelope winked at her sister before turning to Ryder with a sly grin. "I couldn't miss crashing the party, could I? Plus, I wanted to see how my little sister's graduation celebration was going." Her tone was teasing, but there was a warmth in her eyes that spoke of genuine affection. Ryder chuckled, feeling at ease with Penelope's presence. She had always been like a sister to him, joining in on their adventures and offering unwavering support. While she can be mischievous on the outside, there are times Penelope takes certain situations seriously, especially when it came to her family and closest friends. As the night wore on, the group settled into a comfortable rhythm of storytelling, laughter, and occasional moments of quiet reflection. Penelope regaled them with tales of her own high school shenanigans, each story more outrageous than the last. Her animated gestures and infectious laughter had everyone hanging onto her every word, caught up in the whirlwind of her vibrant personality. The night air was filled with shared memories and the light of friendship. As Penelope's stories continued to weave a tapestry of joy and laughter, Ryder couldn't help but marvel at the bond they all shared. Despite their individual quirks and differences, they complemented each other in a way that felt like fate had brought them together. Elizabeth nestled closer to him, her presence a soothing balm to his soul amidst the revelry of their friends. As the night grew darker and the stars painted the sky with their twinkling beauty, a sense of contentment settled over the group. Each one lost in their own thoughts, reminiscing about the journey that had led them to this moment. Jonas spoke up, breaking the comfortable silence that had draped over them like a cozy blanket. "Do you guys remember our pact from high school? The one where we promised to always have each other's backs, no matter what life threw our way?" His voice held a note of nostalgia, a reminder that their bond transcended time and distance. The group nodded in unison, a shared understanding passing between them. It was a promise forged in the fires of their shared experiences, a vow to stand by each other through thick and thin. "And look at us now, still going strong," David chimed in, a smile playing on his lips. "Who would have thought we'd actually stick to that cheesy pact?" Gabriella let out a melodious laugh, her eyes shining with affection as she looked around at her friends. "Cheesy or not, I wouldn't trade this for anything in the world. You guys are my family." Ryder felt a surge of emotion well up inside him, a deep-seated gratitude for the unwavering support and love that surrounded him. With Elizabeth by his side and their friends like pillars of strength, he knew that no challenge was too great to overcome. As the night drew to a close, the group decided to call it a night and make their way back home. The comforting embrace of familiarity lingered in the air as they walked together, their laughter and chatter a soothing melody against the backdrop of the night. Ryder walked beside Elizabeth, their hands entwined as they savored the quiet companionship between them. Penelope fell into step with them, her presence a warm reminder of the unbreakable bond they shared. Her playful banter and infectious laughter echoed through the night, drawing smiles from everyone around her. As they reached the end of the dock where their cars were parked, a sense of contentment settled over Ryder. The events of the day had been marked with joy, laughter, and a deep sense of belonging that he knew would linger in his heart for years to come. With hugs exchanged and promises of future meetups made, the group finally parted ways, each heading home with a heart full of cherished memories and a soul nourished by the love of true friendship. Once they went into their homes, Ryder felt a sense of peace wash over him, the events of the day replaying in his mind like a cherished movie. As he sat on his bed, the soft glow of his bedside lamp casting a warm light across the room, he couldn't help but smile at the memories that now adorned his heart. With a sigh of contentment, Ryder reached for his phone and began typing a message in their group chat. "Today was one for the books. Grateful for each and every one of you. Here's to many more adventures together." Sending the message out into the digital ether, he knew that their bond would remain unbreakable, no matter where life led them. As he settled under his cozy blankets, the events of the day slowly giving way to dreams filled with laughter and shared moments, Ryder drifted into a peaceful slumber, the smile still lingering on his lips. In his dreams, he found himself back at the lake, surrounded by the familiar faces of his friends, their laughter dancing in the air like music. The night stretched on indefinitely, filled with an endless loop of stories, shared glances, and a warmth that seemed to seep into his very soul. Outside of Ryder's dreams, however, is that he doesn't realize that there is a figure looming over him, their intentions unknown as they watch him sleep peacefully. The figure's eyes glinted in the darkness, their features hidden in the shadows of the room. A soft chuckle escaped their lips, barely audible over the gentle hum of the night outside. Ryder felt something similar to grass poking his skin, as he stirred from his dream, the remnants of laughter and friendship fading into the recesses of his mind. Blinking groggily, he realized he was no longer in his bed but lying on dead, colorless grass adorned with withered trees that twisted towards the sky like skeletal fingers. Confusion clouded his thoughts as he sat up slowly, his surroundings unfamiliar and foreboding. The figure from his dream was nowhere to be seen, but a sense of unease settled in the pit of his stomach. As he stood up, a cold wind whispered through the desolate landscape, carrying with it an eerie chill that seeped into his bones. Ryder scanned the area, searching for any signs of life or civilization, but all he could see was an endless expanse of barren land stretching out in all directions. The silence that enveloped him was deafening, broken only by the distant caw of a lone crow perched on a gnarled tree branch. "Where the heck am I?" Ryder whispered to himself, his voice barely audible in the vast emptiness that surrounded him. A sense of urgency crept into his veins as he took hesitant steps forward, each footfall echoing in the stillness like a drumbeat of uncertainty. Not knowing what to do besides trying to look for an exit, Ryder trudged through the desolate landscape, his heart pounding in his chest as he searched for any sign of civilization or a way out. The twisted trees seemed to whisper sinister secrets, their branches reaching out like grasping claws as if trying to pull him into their dark embrace. The oppressive silence weighed heavily on him, each moment filled with a growing sense of dread. Every step is accompanied by a loud crunching sounds, emitting from the dry, colorless grass. Ryder's senses were on high alert, every noise magnified in the eerie stillness of the desolate landscape. The crunching of the grass beneath his feet sounded like an ominous warning, reverberating through the empty expanse around him. His heart pounded in his chest, a steady drumbeat of fear that matched the tempo of his quickening steps. Realization struck within Ryder upon scanning his surroundings to find an exit. He's in a forbidden forest, called Deadwood Vale. Legends spoke of a place where the four devils were summoned here by a group with a grim agenda, where an unlucky individual can be possessed for a dark purpose. Ryder's blood ran cold as he remembered the stories of the Vale, tales of those who entered never finding their way out, doomed to roam the desolate landscape for eternity. His mind raced with fear and uncertainty, every rustle of the withered trees sending a shiver down his spine. The oppressive atmosphere of the Vale pressed down on him, a heavy weight that threatened to suffocate him with its malevolent presence. Desperation clawed at Ryder's chest as he quickened his pace, his eyes darting around in search of any way to escape the cursed forest. Shadows danced on the edges of his vision, whispering dark promises and chilling his very soul. With each passing moment, the air grew colder, draining him of warmth and hope. As he pushed forward, determination warring with terror in his heart, a faint glimmer caught his eye, relieving him from his worries. Ah! There's the exit out of this place, Ryder thought, his spirit lifting at the sight of a distant light twinkling like a beacon of salvation. Without a second thought, he quickened his pace towards the faint glow, the oppressive silence of Deadwood Vale seeming to retreat in the face of this newfound hope. This faint glimmer of light, however, did not get any closer as Ryder continued to walk towards it, his steps steady but purposeful. The light remained just out of reach, teasing him with its elusive brightness. As he drew closer, the shadows around him seemed to deepen, twisting and contorting as if trying to keep him away from the source of salvation. A sense of unease gnawed at Ryder's insides, his instincts warning him of impending danger. Yet, the flickering light beckoned to him like a siren's call, pulling at his very soul with an irresistible allure. With a deep breath to steady his nerves, Ryder pressed on, determined to unravel the mystery of the elusive light. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if an invisible force was working against him, trying to impede his progress. The air grew colder, filled with a palpable tension that prickled at his skin. Beads of sweat formed on his brow despite the chill that pervaded the cursed forest. Ryder then looked down to see that he's running in place, unable to move forward no matter how hard he tried. Panic surged through him, his heart hammering in his chest as he struggled against the unseen barrier that held him captive. The flickering light that had once promised salvation now seemed to taunt him, dancing just beyond his reach like a cruel mirage. Frantic thoughts raced through Ryder's mind as he grappled with the realization that he was trapped in Deadwood Vale, at the mercy of forces beyond his understanding. The shadows seemed to close in around him, whispering malevolent secrets that chilled him to the core. A sense of hopelessness threatened to overwhelm him as he fought against the invisible bonds that held him in place. A chilling laughter filled the air in response to his plea, sending shivers down Ryder's spine. The shadows seemed to writhe and twist with malicious intent, their tendrils reaching out towards him like claws poised to strike. The flickering light transformed into an eerie glow that cast sinister shadows across the barren landscape, revealing glimpses of grotesque figures lurking just beyond the edge of sight. Ryder's heart pounded in his ears as he struggled against the unseen force that held him captive, desperation clawing at his chest. With a final surge of defiance, he mustered all his strength and willpower, channeling it into a single, determined thought: escape. However, despite all of his efforts, he still could not break free from the invisible shackles that bound him in place. The malevolent forces of Deadwood Vale seemed to delight in his struggle, their sinister presence growing stronger with each passing moment. Ryder's breath came in ragged gasps as he stared into the darkness, a glimmer of defiance flickering in his eyes despite the overwhelming odds stacked against him. The laughter that had filled the air moments before now turned into a haunting melody that seeped into Ryder's very soul, twisting and warping his thoughts. He immediately stopped and started to look around, his breaths coming in short, panicked gasps as he tried to make sense of the eerie symphony that surrounded him. Shadows danced on the edge of his vision, their movements taunting and malevolent. With a sinking feeling in his gut, Ryder realized that he was not alone in the cursed forest. "Who's there?" Ryder called out, his voice echoing through the desolate landscape. The haunting melody ceased abruptly, replaced by a deafening silence that seemed to press in on him from all sides. His heart hammered in his chest as he strained to catch any sound, any sign of life in the oppressive stillness. A low, guttural growl resonated from the shadows, sending a chill down Ryder's spine. The twisted trees seemed to creak and groan in response, their branches swaying in an unnatural rhythm that bespoke a sinister presence lurking just out of sight. "I know you're there," Ryder said, trying to sound braver than he felt. "Show yourself." There were no response, leaving Ryder standing in the eerie silence of Deadwood Vale, his heart pounding in his chest as he waited for any sign of the unseen entity that lurked in the shadows. A cold sweat broke out on his brow as he strained his senses, trying to pierce the veil of darkness that surrounded him. Ryder's eyes widened in disbelief as he watched the light slowly fade away. His heart clenched with fear as he realized that was his only way out of this dark and foreboding place. But that was my escape," Ryder choked out, his voice trembling with desperation. The dim glow from the dying light cast eerie shadows around him, adding to the mounting sense of dread. The darkness around Ryder deepened, swallowing the last traces of the elusive light. Panic surged through him as he felt a cold, clammy hand close around his heart, squeezing with a vice-like grip. The shadows seemed to draw closer, pressing in on him from all sides with an almost sentient malevolence. A black mist slithered out from the shadows, twisting and coiling around Ryder like a serpent ready to strike. The mist seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, its tendrils reaching out towards him with an eerie grace. Ryder's breath caught in his throat as he watched in horror, paralyzed by the sight of this otherworldly entity that defied all reason. "What the?" was all Ryder can choke out before the mist forced itself straight into his mouth, suffocating his cries for help. Desperation fueled his struggles as he thrashed against the insidious mist, but it clung to him like a shroud of impending doom. Shadows danced in his vision as he felt himself being dragged deeper into the dark heart of Deadwood Vale, a place where no light could penetrate the veil of malevolence that loomed over him. As the mist choked the very life out of him, Ryder's mind raced with thoughts of all he would leave behind, his family, his dreams, his very existence fading into the abyss of the cursed forest. The world around him grew dimmer with each passing moment, a cold numbness spreading through his limbs as he fought against the encroaching darkness. Every part of Ryder's body seemed to scream in protest as the malevolent mist consumed him, his struggles growing weaker by the second. The oppressive weight of despair settled over him, threatening to drag him into the depths of oblivion. The struggling ceased as Ryder felt himself being pulled further into the heart of Deadwood Vale. The darkness enveloped him completely, drowning out any trace of light or hope. His consciousness began to slip away, fading into a void of nothingness as the sinister mist tightened its grip around him. "Someone help," Ryder whispered hoarsely, his voice barely a breath in the oppressive silence of Deadwood Vale. But his plea was swallowed by the darkness, consumed by the malevolent forces that held him captive. His vision blurred and dimmed, the world around him fading into a nightmarish abyss of shadows and despair. This boy put up a decent fight. I only have 70% control over his body from his resistance. I need to break his spirit, kill everyone in this world, and leave some alive to be vessels for the other three. Just they wait, the thought-manipulating spirit said to itself, cackling with glee at the power it had finally gained over Ryder. It reveled in the suffering it had caused, basking in the darkness and evil that surrounded Deadwood Vale. As for Ryder, his consciousness continued to drift, fading in and out of the abyss. He felt himself being pulled further into the darkness, a growing sense of hopelessness creeping up on him like a wave. He tried to fight against it, to cling onto any shred of light he could find within himself, but it was no use. The darkness seemed to be closing in on him from all sides, suffocating him with its malevolent embrace. His heart was slowing down, the once steady beat of life fading away as the darkness consumed him. Ryder's mind was screaming in protest, but his body was betrayed by the mist that enveloped him. He could feel the life draining from him, his strength ebbing away into the void like an endless sea of shadows. And now, the spirit possessed the boy, its will merged with his, a twisted amalgam of power and despair. The spirit let out a triumphant laugh as Ryder's consciousness was finally subsumed by its malevolent power. With the boy under its control, the spirit had unparalleled influence over the world. It could bend reality to its whim, manipulate minds, and create chaos without end. Using the body of Ryder to crush a nearby dead tree, the spirit reveled in the power it had regained, basking in the destruction it could wreak. It knew it could do more, so much more, but it needed to savor this moment. I wonder who could be the lucky guinea pig for our plans, the spirit thought with a wicked grin, a newfound glint in its eyes. Who knows what horrors and joys I'll bring into this world now. For now, though, let us relish in the destruction we are preparing to bring upon these innocent souls. Together, let us reshape this world in our image, and bring chaos to those who dare to cross us.